Throughout my many vibe coding adventures, there have been many times where I've spent 7 hours debugging a 2-line fix. And I've also seen this happen with a lot of other people as well. Since last year, people have been vibe coding, a lot of cool stuff. They've been, doing a lot of projects that would sometimes take them years, months, and now doing it within weeks, sometimes even hours. People are able to create their own apps, their websites, their workflows, their agents, really quickly. It's cool to see. But I see a lot of people, they sort of disregard these problems that come with a lot of vibe coding adventures. And that's what I want to go through in today's video. I want to show you some war stories, the learning lessons, what I would do differently, knowing what I know now. And at the end, I'll go through a demo on how you can put those into practice and, vibe code some cool stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so why would you want to listen to me? As I said before, I've done a lot of vibe coding over the years. Working on AI agents, some workflows. My website is vibe coded. But I've also done some vibe coding in a lot of the agency side things. Made an app that generates these hyper specific documents, and another one that would do some search data analytics, which is quite cool. But yeah, I just wanted to drop this so you guys know we're not LARP maxing out here. And yeah, course is coming soon though, guys. We love AI slop. No, we don't. Quickly, what is vibe coding? For those of you that are kind of confused, it's hard to miss, but it's in the name. Just coding based on vibes and getting AI to code while you don't know how to code. So you just tell it to do something and it does it. And it feels like you have your own personal dev. It's kind of cool. It's cool you want to make this website and you just send it and you think, wow, you didn't really do anything, but well, it's cool. I, created a website and made this this AI do it. And it became the Collins Dictionary Word of the Year last year, which is pretty sad. I can't lie. That's not great, but yeah. Fun fact of the day. And everyone's using it. 63% of vibe coders aren't even devs. You got your freelancers, your founders, marketers, managers, entrepreneurs, startups. Even I've been seeing recently tradies getting on some of these vibe coding things. Finding that tradies are using it to create their own website, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's cool to see everyone's hopping on it. And this one startup accelerator program called Y Combinator had 25% of their startups have 95% AI generated code bases, which is massive. Heaps of people are getting onto it. Even seasoned devs, they're using things like GPT Codex, Google's Anti-Gravity, Cursor, Claude Code. They're using all these different tools to accelerate their work and pump out these really cool projects. And the cool thing is, it's opened up a whole new world. People can be able to go from zero to hero pretty quickly. They can go from planning their project to having a working draft in minutes. You can do rapid testing really quickly. If you're a solopreneur, you're a startup, got limited team, limited resources, you can get your projects off the ground quite quickly. However, there are many drawbacks that a lot of people don't really talk about, and if done improperly, you'll start pulling out your hairs. Trust me. I should be bold. But anyway, I'm not here to bash it. I'm not here to say vibe coding is trash. I do it all the time. But I just want to show you how to vibe code well with some war stories. War story number 1. 7 hours, 2 lines. As I said at the start, there have been many times where I've spent hours on such a simple fix. Back and forth for hours. Just because I was kind of lazy Not kind of. I was incredibly lazy and just wanted to fix it there and then. I'll literally sometimes just be like, oh, fix it. I hate to break it to you, just saying fix it. And it's not going to do much. Like, you're not just going to go up to someone you're not going to go up to some plumber and just point at your sink and be like, oh, fix that. Like, obviously you don't really know what you're doing. But you're still going to give him some direction of what to do. But a wise man once said that you can't outsource your brain if you don't have one. This is a real quote. I've read The Art of War. Trust me. But what this means is that, if you're doing a lot of guesswork, the AI is also doing a lot of guesswork. Like, AI can debug well, but it still needs directions. Like, it's a probability machine. Like, without any, general direction of what you're trying to fix, it's going to make assumptions, won't ask questions, and it will think it's helping you. Without understanding of what you're trying to fix, you're just hoping your next shot in the dark... You're just hoping your next shot in the dark prompt will work. What would I do differently? I would try and understand the error. I'd go through, how did it fail? Why did it fail? What were the potential causes? And through that, I can test different features and understand how it actually works. Testing some things here and there, you'll be able to spot what's actually gone down. But on a much easier level, if you're not like a super technical person, you'd want to show your expected result versus the result you wanted. Become good. I guess if I wasn't super technical, I'd want to be good at explaining what I want. I would try to be good at explaining, okay, this is what I want, this is how I want it to happen, and this is the error. So giving the AI some context on that will be able to help it to figure out your error for you. This is good if you're not a very technical person, because sometimes some of this technical stuff can be overwhelming. But on a much, much easier level, just don't be lazy. Think it through. Try and think your error through. Because if you're just going to try and be lazy and spam, fix it, and then you do what I do, go all caps and just crash out, then you're not really going to get much of a solution. You got to be able to think things through. It's like with anything. War story number 2. It did what I asked. And that was the problem. Backstory. When I made my website, I found this YouTube video and I just extracted this massive prompt that the guy used. And it was actually really good. It was super in-depth. It had different stylistic options depending on your brand, your business brand. I thought, oh wow, this is cool. And I used it. I actually want to show you guys some of the things it came up with. So let's go to the top here. I thought, damn, this is kind of cool, you got some little elements and stuff, some agent cards and things like that. It's kind of cool. Tried it again, and bang, this is kind of what my website looks now, but a lot different. Shocking text, but that's easy to fix. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Got some cards. One of these things here. Again, this same kind of scrollable element. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought, oh great, I'm just gonna, my background's SEO, so I thought I'm just gonna, chuck this onto WordPress. And for those of you that don't know what WordPress is, it's basically a platform where you can manage your website, add pages and stuff like that. I thought, sweet, I'll just chuck it on there. And then the AI said, oh, we actually need to change the entire coding language. They needed to change it from being whatever it's called, a React app or some random code language they used to make apps, and then convert it all to HTML and JavaScript. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And yeah, so that was a bit of a process. Got that done, and then I put it onto WordPress, uploaded it, and I thought, okay, sweet, I'm ready. I'm going to upload some pages. And then I found out that I actually couldn't edit my homepage because it was fully coded. I feel like I'm speaking a lot of gibberish here, but basically the gist of it was I couldn't edit my homepage like how I envisioned to do so. And yeah, I kind of just now I'm kind of a bit of a wall here where I'm like, okay, cool, I've got this website, it's kind of cool, but I've had to fully change the coding language, and now it's harder to create pages, and yeah, that's kind of rough. So what were the learning lessons here? AI completes the task, literally. Like, I told it to create the website, and it worked amazing, but it didn't tell me if I'd ever built a website before. You know, AIs naturally prioritize the task no matter what, and through that, it'll make a lot of assumptions, and it'll be incredibly careless, like incredibly careless. You know, it won't ask if you understand what you're doing. It just thinks task done. Like, even if it's slightly hesitant, it'll go through with the task. I don't know if you've ever used like one of them like thinking models and you've looked at its train of thought. I've done it before. I've been doing something. I'll see like, why did it do that? Well, I'll think, why did it do that? I'll go through its train of thought, and I'll see how like, oh, I'm hesitant on this, but I'm gonna go through with it anyway. So it'll do the task no matter what. And so, what would I do differently? If I would try it, I would show my entire plan. You know, I would be incredibly specific with what I want. If I were to redo the website, you know, I do my full plan. You know, I do like, oh, my business, branding, this, that, and the other, what I do, like a full plan. But I would also, you know, plan ahead, like, where do I want it to go after? And also think about the constraints, you know, or think about the coding language, but if you're less technical, like, you'd want to say, oh, I want to put it onto, like, a platform where I can manage the site, add pages, change things up, things like that. Yeah, give it what I plan to do with the website after building it, and any other random ideas. So giving it all these guidelines so it doesn't go on a massive tangent of just assuming the most random things. And yeah, I would instruct it to, you know, to be considerate of its planning. You know, I'd give it these instructions so it can get around these bad habits. Like, you know, telling it to show its assumptions, to be more considerate, and understand my skill level and how I like to operate with AIs. Like, these are different kind of things where you can, like, you know, get around these bad habits, because they have a lot of bad habits. On to war story number 3. Rewriting code that I never told it to touch. And I felt exactly what Uncle Kata is feeling right now.
Oh, Mike, don't say that!
Yeah. Context. Work project. I was creating this custom app to generate these special documents. And, you know, I was getting some good progress. I was building it for like a week, but I was using the same chat. And as it went on and on, it would get to a point where it would start making changes I didn't want it to change. Like, I would see, like, you know, I'd be getting the same error, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting the same error. All right, I'm going to try something different. Okay, I'm getting a kind of different error. I thought we fixed that. And then I would see something completely unrelated just broke. Like, it would change key sections that held together the entire app. And I'd be looking at it like, what? Like, excuse me? What is going on here? So basically, it was hallucinating, and it would create new errors to solve. So what were the learning lessons here? You know, the longer the sessions go, like, the more it starts to perform way worse. You know, AI starts to experience something called context rot. It's basically where, as the conversation goes on, it just forgets everything in the middle of the conversation because there's too much info. And that's where it starts to hallucinate. You know, it starts to get worse, and you'll start to see it in how, like, a lot of things will just be changed and randomly added, and it'll just create, you know, more errors for you to solve. And that's what I experienced. You know, all these random things would come up, more crap to solve. So now, what would I do differently? Every new significant feature, drop a new conversation. You know, with little errors, it's chill. You can just, you know, fix up a little few things here and there, and you're sweet. But with things that like need more firepower, a new conversation gives it, that boost to be able to, implement that thing quickly and, get away from, all the context rot, all the performance drop. I would also load these like, 2 specific files ready to go for every new chat. I have like a project file, context on the project, what it is, plans, goals, etc. Little updates. So it, it can kind of like has a little bit of context on how the app's progressed. And then I'd have like a rules file on how like I like to deal with AIs, telling it to be considerate of risks, outline its assumptions, show like the edited code files so I can, check things, cross-reference and see where it's adding random crap. And yeah, I would also ask it why it's adding this section, why it's doing what it wants to do, how this works, and like how it affects the rest of the code. I think that's the one thing like a lot of people miss. Like I'm no engineer, I'm no seasoned dev, but like you gotta kind of like think bigger with some of these projects. You like one change can affect like it's like there's a huge domino effect. And so you gotta be like pretty considerate of how one change can affect like the rest of the app or the website or the workflow or whatever you're trying to do. But honestly, I wish I knew how to code. I'm just going to keep it real. Like this would have saved me so much time. I would have had shorter war stories because I would have been able to instantly spot, some big mistakes, and I would have prevented a lot of back and forth. Like knowing code and writing code are 2 different things. It's like Perth driving. And shout out to all my homies that live in Perth, bro. Like a lot of people drive, but they just don't know how to drive very well. And yeah, so knowing how to code would have 10x'd my vibe coding. But realistically, that's not happening. Like I'm not becoming a seasoned dev. Like I'm not at that point where I'm going to go and do that. Because that's just not something I want to do. And honestly, that's not happening for a lot of us. Like we have more stuff to deal with as well. So that leads me into the next steps. Because there are many things that you can do to become better at vibe coding without becoming a seasoned dev. There's a lot of things you can do. Like if I know not everyone's super technical, but I do recommend doing some very basic code courses. Like JavaScript, Python, you'll be dealing with a lot of these languages a lot. Learning it at a base level is pretty good. HTML is really easy to learn, really good for websites, and you got YouTube. Like we're in the age of information. There's so many websites, YouTubers that you can learn from. But yeah, but for those of you that aren't super technical, what we spoke about before, like start a new chat, a significant feature a session. Like you need that firepower and that's what a fresh context will help you with. When you do those new chats, load that project file, your rules file. Have a good plan as well, as I said before. Know what you're building and everything included in this build, and check implementations constantly. Like understand what it's trying to do. Spot check things, especially things you haven't touched. And testing's very important. Finding ways to like test different steps like separately as well, that's always quite good. And if you're going through a bit of a back and forth on the same error, take a bit of time to like step back and think it through before you go down a crazy pointless rabbit hole. And yeah, with all that said, I'm gonna go through a little demo and show you how you can put some of these things into practice. Alright, so here we are in Lovable AI. Very popular vibe coding platform for people that don't know how to code. Very easy to use and get things off the ground quickly. I know the name's kind of cringe, but yeah, it's quite good. So I've got my message preloaded here and I'll go through that. Link in the description below to the Google Drive file so that you can follow along with these files because they're quite long and I don't want to have to explain them for 10 minutes. But yeah, just putting into practice some of those things we talked about in the slideshow, adding in the rules file, which is about me.md, and the plan file that we spoke about before. Why did I click that? Anyway, that's okay. But yeah, just quickly. So for this demo, pretending to own an aggregate concrete company, and yeah, in this rules file, got a bit of background. I know who this person is, the business, blah blah blah, skill levels, and how I like to work with LLMs. So some of the things we talked about before. One of them was to ask before assuming, and we have that here. Telling it to list out the assumptions so that I know what it's thinking, I can correct it. And another thing we spoke about before was telling it to be considerate of risks, and we've got that there. So yeah, got our rules file, and now into the plan. Said before, just planning out how I want this project to go, and the project is to create a personalized quote calculator. So yeah, just dumping all the ideas I have, the broader flow, how it'll work in like the grand scheme of things, and then how the app will actually work, and my ideas with that. And adding in, of course, the calculations, so showing how the app will actually work, and adding some more ideas here, how I want the interface to look. So yeah, just dumping a bunch of ideas. Doesn't have to be perfect, but a lot of context is better than nothing. So let's go back here, and little disclaimer, you can swap between the modes. Of course, we want to for this demo, we're going to plan it out first, and then when we're ready, we'll select build. But for now, let's see how she goes with the planning. Okay, so it's created its plan, and yeah, we can just read through all of this stuff here. It's got screen layout, job details, a bunch of other cool stuff as well. And yeah, we go through here, just read through, and now we have the assumptions. You just read through these, tick off which ones that you want to clarify with. But yeah, honestly, for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to go ahead with all of it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit approve, and yeah, we'll see what comes of it. Another thing as well, you can see its train of thought here. You can see how it's working. Yeah, you can what is it? You can see its thoughts, see what it's working at. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of nice to know, what it's doing in the background. But yeah, we can see here that it's creating some of these files here. As we can see that it's it's created the app. We can see on the right here, it's got everything that we wanted. And yeah, let's get a bigger view on this. Press that button there. And yeah, honestly, looks great. Let's test it. And yeah, as we can see here, we've got our live quote. It's done the maths here, which is pretty nice. Got our total there. And yeah, we can also download it as well. Let's see what this looks like. Let's press that. Bring that PDF over here. And yeah, it looks pretty good. It's pretty nice. So we've got that. Cool. And let's say I want to, change these things here. I'll just go back here and tell it, just to change the placeholder values. Let's go back here. All right. Cool. Right. For little changes, we don't need to check too much, but yeah, we'll just see, how it goes with this one.
A few moments later.
Okay, as we see here, it's changed the values we wanted. We wanted 3 meters for the length and then 6 meters for the width. So let's say I want to check the changes, because that's something we talked about in the slideshow. But for Lovable, I can go here, press details. I can see the file it's edited, and then again I can do some cross checking and see how it's changed the placeholder values. But another scenario, let's say I want to go ahead and change these placeholder values myself. If I go back to the app, let's say I go open it in that tab again, and let's say I want to change the name to something different. I would go back to that file it edited, and I would want to go and find it. Bit of a disclaimer, as a non-coder, sometimes, or a lot of the time, these apps will just have a bunch of folders and files and you won't know what's going on. So what I like to do is see where this file's come from. So we can see, the main folder is src, and then components is inside, and then inside components we define quote to then find job form. And yeah, let's go ahead and find it. We can, in Lovable, you can use Command K if you're on Mac, and that'll give you this nice interface right here. Go ahead and choose different things. But for now, let's go ahead to code, and we have our code files here, and we can expand that, make it look bigger. This is that project context file that I was talking about at the start. It's got a file about what this app is. Sorry, bit off topic, but still important to know. So whenever we make new changes, we can go ahead and download that whenever we need to. But back to where we were going before, let's go ahead and find that file where we edited the placeholder values, where the AI actually did it. But anyway, so we've got src, press components, quote, and job form. So here we are. If you don't know what's going on, it doesn't matter. I don't really know what's going on either, but yeah, we can see, these are all the different values. Let's scroll to, the ones that it changed. So we have that, that 3 meter value we wanted for the length. And we've also got the 6 meter value that we want for the width. But let's go back to the name here, and let's say I want to change the name. When you change text, keep it within these quotation marks, because the code will break if you don't. If I were to delete it like that, the code would break. So let's go back here and let's change the name to something super original, John Smith. And I've done that. Let's go ahead and click save, and watch it work its magic. Alright, cool. You can see that changes have been saved. And let's get out of this real quick. Make it smaller. Go back down to the end. I was doing some things off camera. We can press the preview. It won't show the changes immediately, but press this dotted button here. Press the preview, and there we go. We've got John Smith right there. So, bang, we can change the values that we want pretty easily. Let's say I've been in that chat adding a bunch of things. It's getting a bit long, and I want to do something big. So I want to go ahead and change the PDFs, because if we go back here, there is not much going on here. Not ideal. So let's go ahead and change that. But as I was saying in the slideshows before, let's load up some files. That previous README file, which had all the project context, and the rules file I was talking about. I do like to put in the exact chat names to go back to, and I'll also tell it to tell me what it does understand, what it doesn't, and then await next instructions. So let's see how this goes. Bang. So it's gone ahead and done all the reading that it needs to do. Let's see what it's been doing, which is kind of nice. It's showing what it does and doesn't understand. Alright, let's give it let's shorten this. And okay, so the project is empty. But good thing, Lovable has a fix around that. Project connectors. Let's see, no, that's not the one. It's actually add a reference. We can go back here and we can press the one we were looking for. This is the project. Yes, all files. we can see here that it's reading through the files, which is quite nice. Listed directory, which is good. Reading all the different files and whatnot, which is quite nice. Again, some of these, files we were looking at before, so that's good. It's got the correct chat, which is nice. Alright, so done a few things off camera. I've got the app working pretty nicely, which is kind of cool. Go back here, so let me just delete that. But yeah, we got our app. Let's just play around with a few values. Still works pretty well. If we're gonna change that, yep, still works well. Looks great. But yeah, I've gone ahead and done a bit of a plan for the PDF changes. I want 3 pages. Page 1, do some client details, project summary, total price. Page 2, scope of works, and just added in a bunch of things here. Page 3, let's do terms and conditions, and then I'll add for now use dummy values, still testing, and yeah, we got plan here, and let's give it a crack. Test this out. So it's made the plan. Let's give it a cheeky look here. Alright, so let's go ahead and approve it. See how she goes. Okay, it's gone ahead and done all of that, which is quite cool. So yeah, it's wrote its plan, which is cool. Yeah, we can see some example pages it's done here, a bit potato quality. But we can see that's got the client details, project summary, price breakdown, which is the stuff we wanted for that page, scope of works, which is pretty cool. And then we got the T's and C's, warranty, and signatures, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and preview it. Open it up, delete the previous one. Yeah, let's play around with it. Looks pretty good. Downloader. Not this one. Out with the old, in with the new. Come on. So yeah, it's got what we were checking out before. We got our scope of works, and we have our T&C's warranty acceptance, which is pretty nice. Alright, so that's how you can put some of those vibe coding learning lessons into practice. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something as well. And yeah, you take some of this advice into your next vibe coding project. Link in the description below for those files so you can follow along and know what's going on. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Au revoir.